It's 1:15 in the morning. Tehran is asleep. Millions of people going about their lives. And then ... the sky opens up. Two of the most powerful militaries on Earth just hit Iran at the same time. The Supreme Leader is dead. The Middle East is on fire. And this might be the moment that changes everything. Welcome back to the Military Show. I'm host name. If you were just hearing about this, sit down. Because what happened on February 28th, 2026 is not just another airstrike. This is potentially the most consequential military operation in the 21st century. The United States and Israel just launched a full-scale coordinated attack on Iran. Not a warning shot, not a limited strike. A decapitation operation, an infrastructure obliteration campaign, a regime change mission, all at once, in broad daylight. And the world will never be the same. To understand what just happened, you have to understand the last 3 years, because this didn't come from nowhere. This was a slow-motion countdown, and today, the clock hit zero. It starts with October 7th, 2023. Hamas, armed, trained and funded by Iran, launches the deadliest attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust. Over 1,200 Israelis killed, 250 taken hostage. The world watches in horror. But here's what most people missed. That attack wasn't just Hamas. It was the opening move of what Iran calls the axis of resistance. The Houthis in Yemen, militias in Iraq and Syria, all of them are Iranian proxies, all of them armed by Tehran, all of them part of a decades-long strategy to surround Israel and eventually destroy it. Israel fights back, hard. By early 2024, Hamas is decimated in Gaza. Hezbollah takes catastrophic losses in Lebanon. Iranian proxies across the region are being systematically dismantled. Iran watches its whole geopolitical strategy collapse in real time. Then comes April 2024. Iran launches over 300 drones and missiles directly at Israel. It's the first direct attack by Iran on Israeli soil in history. Israel and its allies intercept 99% of them. Israel retaliates. Iran threatens again. Then October 2024. Another exchange. Then 2025, a brief but brutal war. The U.S. joins briefly to strike Iranian nuclear facilities in what's later called Operation Midnight Hammer. Bhuttu Spirit stealth bombers, bunker buster bombs. Iran's nuclear infrastructure takes a serious hit. Trump declares Iran's enrichment sites completely and totally obliterated. But Iran doesn't stop. They rebuild, they escalate. And then, December 2025. The Iranian people themselves stand up. Starting in late December 2025, something extraordinary happens. The Iranian economy, already crippled by decades of U.S. sanctions, finally collapses. The rial, Iran's currency, is in freefall. Inflation is catastrophic. Food prices triple. Medicine runs out. Millions of ordinary Iranians are living in poverty, not because of the American great Satan the regime always blamed, but because of the regime itself. The protests begin small. University students in Tehran, then factory workers, then teachers, then everyone. Within weeks, demonstrations spread to over 100 cities across Iran. These aren't just economic protests. People are chanting for regime change. They want the Ayatollahs gone. They want freedom. It becomes the largest uprising Iran has seen since the 1979 revolution that created this government in the first place. And how does the Islamic Republic respond? They open fire. On January 8th and 10th, 2026, Iranian security forces, the IRGC, the Basij militia, the regime's enforcers, massacre protesters in the streets. The US-based human rights activist news agency estimates over 7,000 killed. Iran's own government admits to over 3,000. President Trump puts the number at 32,000 people dead, gunned down for wanting freedom. Trump goes on Truth Social. He's furious. He says the Iranian regime is one of the most evil on earth, tells the Iranian people, America is with you. And then January 23rd, 2026. Trump announces something that sends a shockwave through every military intelligence agency on the planet. An armada is heading to the Middle East. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, 12 warships, 80 aircraft, nuclear-powered, capable of projecting air power across an entire region. It's moving into the North Arabian Sea. Then, the USS Gerald R. Ford, the largest aircraft carrier ever built, a floating city of war, over 333 meters long, 90 aircraft, more combat power than the air forces of most countries in the world. Deployed to the eastern Mediterranean, between the two carrier groups and independent deployments, two 14 guided missile destroyers are now positioned across the Middle East and Mediterranean, each armed with standard Missile-3 interceptors that can shoot down ballistic missiles in the upper atmosphere. SM-2 South, SM-6S, Tomahawk cruise missiles. On the ground, the U.S. quietly moves that battery's terminal high-altitude area defense into position. That can intercept ballistic missiles during their descent phase. It's one of the most advanced missile defense systems on the planet. Patriot PAC-3 batteries are repositioned. Air defense assets flood the region. America isn't just sending a message. America is building a cage around Iran. Meanwhile, the diplomatic track is still technically open. On February 6th, Iran and the U.S. hold indirect nuclear talks in Muscat, Oman. Iran is represented through intermediaries. The U.S. has three demands. 1. Permanent end to all uranium enrichment. DWO. Strict limits on Iran's ballistic missile program. 3. Complete halt to support for regional proxies. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. All of it. Done. Iran plays for time. They claim they need to consult back in capitals. A second round is scheduled in Geneva. Then, February 15th through the 20th, something strange happens. Iranian intelligence services notice it but don't fully understand it. Iran increases its oil exports to 3 times the normal rate. They're flooding the market, dumping their reserves, converting assets into hard cash. It's like someone who knows a storm is coming, is grabbing everything they can before it hits. February 27th, 2026, one day before the strike. Oman's foreign minister, the same man mediating the nuclear talks, announces a breakthrough. He says Iran has agreed to never stockpile enriched uranium. Full IAEA verification. Progress is being made. The world breathes a sigh of relief. Diplomacy might be working, war might be averted. But somewhere in Tel Aviv, in a secure command bunker that very few people even know exists, Israeli military planners are not standing down. They are counting down. 1:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, February 28, 2026. Tehran is a city of 9 million people. Saturday, the first day of the working week in Iran. Schools are open. Markets are starting to fill. Children are putting on their uniforms. Parents are making breakfast. And then the missiles arrive. The Israeli Air Force has been planning this for months of satellite surveillance, months of signals intelligence, months of building a detailed picture of every IRGC base, every air defense radar, every missile launcher, every leadership compound in Iran. Call it Operation Roaring Lion. 200 Israeli fighter jets cross into Iranian airspace. These aren't just any jets. These are F-35 Deer stealth fighters, Israel's most advanced aircraft. A custom variant of the American F-35, with Israeli-made systems integrated into the airframe systems, so advanced that even the U.S. doesn't fully know what's inside them. These jets carry Israeli Scorpius electronic warfare pods, jamming Iranian radar frequencies, blinding their air defenses before they can even react. Flying alongside them, F-15 IRAM strike fighters, long-range heavy bombers of the Israeli Air Force, each one carrying GBU-28 bunker buster bombs. These are 5,000-pound laser-guided penetrators, steel casings hardened to punch through reinforced concrete, designed for one purpose: to reach underground. To destroy facilities buried deep beneath the earth, exactly the kind of hardened nuclear bunkers Iran has spent decades building at places like Fordo. Within the first 30 minutes, Israel says it strikes 500 military targets in western and central Iran. 500. Air defense systems blinded and destroyed. Missile launchers hit before they can fire. IRGC command centers reduced to rubble. Simultaneously, the Americans come in from the sea. Operation Epic Fury. U.S. Navy destroyers in the Arabian Sea ripple-fire Tomahawk cruise missiles toward Iranian soil. These are BGM-109 Tomahawks minus 1,000-mile range. They fly at subsonic speed, hugging terrain at just 100 feet above the ground to avoid radar. Each one carries a 1,000-pound warhead. They navigate using GPS and terrain-matching algorithms to hit targets with pinpoint precision. From above, B to Spirit stealth bombers, flying from undisclosed bases, carry the GBU-57. Massive ordnance penetrator. This is America's most powerful conventional bomb. 30,000 pounds. Designed specifically to destroy the deepest, most hardened underground facilities on Earth, including Fordo. Iran's uranium enrichment site buried deep inside a mountain. USCA-18G Growler electronic attack aircraft provide additional jamming support. Iranians S-300 and even limited S-4000. Triumph here. Defense systems, some of the most capable in the world, are being overwhelmed by a combination of stealth, jamming, and sheer volume of incoming strikes. The targets are not random. Presidential Palace. Hit. The National Security Council building. Hit. 7 confirmed missile strikes on the district where Supreme Leader Khamenei normally resides. IRGC command and control facilities across the country. Hit. Iranian naval assets at Konarak Naval Base in the south. Hit. Vessels burning at the pier visible in satellite imagery. Military airfields. Hit. Missile and drone launch sites. Hit. The port city of Bushehr, where Iran's nuclear reactor is located, is struck. Whether the reactor itself was damaged remains unclear in the immediate aftermath. Iran's internet goes dark. A near-total communications blackout falls over Tehran. Cell networks go down. State television goes off the air. Road access to Khamenei's compound is sealed off by security forces, not by the attackers, but by Iranian guards desperately trying to protect whoever is still inside. And then Trump posts on Truth Social. It's short. It's blunt. It changes everything. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, one of the most evil people in history, is dead. 2 Israeli intelligence sources confirm it to CNN. One says Israel obtained a photograph of Khamenei's body. The man who has ruled Iran with an iron fist since 1989. The man who called for death to America at Friday prayers. The supreme leader who personally oversaw the massacre of his own people in January 2026, dead. Alongside him, Israeli forces targeted 30 senior Iranian leadership figures in the opening strikes. Armed Forces Chief of Staff Abdollahian Mousavi is targeted. President Pezeshkian is targeted, though Iranian state media initially claims he survived. Thousands of IRGC personnel, including several senior commanders, are killed or wounded as multiple military bases are simultaneously hit. This is not just a military strike. This is a decapitation of a government, Iran's government, the Ayatollah system that has ruled. Since 1979 has just been ripped apart from the top down. In a matter of hours, Iran is hurt. Iran is not finished. The Islamic Republic has spent decades building one thing above all else: massive, diverse, survivable missile arsenal, specifically because they knew that one day this moment might come, and they wanted to make sure that if it did, they could still strike back. Iran launches Operation True Promise for an unprecedented wave of ballistic missiles and drones, not just at Israel, but at every country in the region that hosts American military forces. Shahab-3 ballistic missiles, liquid-fueled, roadmobile, derived from North Korea's No-Dongwon design. Range, 1,300 to 2,000 kilometers, enough to reach Israel, Saudi Arabia, and U.S. bases throughout the Gulf. EMAD precision-guided ballistic missiles, terminal guidance technology that dramatically improves accuracy over earlier Iranian systems. Ghadr medium-range missiles with ranges that cover all of the Middle East. Long-range Sumer and Haveza cruise missiles flying low, hugging the terrain designed to sneak under radar systems. Iran fires everything it has, because Iranian commanders know that the U.S. already partially destroyed their arsenal in the 2025 strikes, and what's left won't be there much longer. Missiles and drones slam into or are intercepted near. Israel direct hit on Tel Aviv. 1 woman killed. A 9-story building struck. Air raid sirens going off across the country. Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, shaken by explosions. Saudi Arabia confirms intercepting missiles. United Arab Emirates, blasts heard from Dubai's beaches. Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest international airport, shuts down indefinitely.
Act!
A Pakistani national killed by falling debris. Qatar smoke visible from Doha. Missiles intercepted. Kuwait, a drone strikes Kuwait International Airport, causing damage. Jordan missiles intercepted over Jordanian territory. Bahrain targeted. Home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet headquarters. The region is being engulfed. Iran is trying to do what it has always threatened to do. If it goes down, it takes the entire Middle East with it. But the American missile defense umbrella is holding for now. 14 guided missile destroyers, THAAD batteries, Patriot PAC-3 systems, SM-23 interceptors shooting missiles down in the upper atmosphere before they can reach their targets. UAE, Qatar, and Jordan all confirm successful interceptions. Iran is throwing everything, and America is catching it. But this is still day one. The world is watching, and the reactions tell you everything about how divided this planet truly is. Trump speaking from Mar-a-Lago in a pre-recorded video address that's clearly been prepared for days is clear. This is about Iran's nuclear program. This is about the massacred protesters. This is about freedom, he tells the Iranian people. The hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. Netanyahu, simultaneously broadcasting from Israel, calls the strikes necessary to remove the existential threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran, calls on all parts of the Iranian people to overthrow their oppressors. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, careful, diplomatic, concerned, issues a statement. Britain was not involved in the strikes. The UK Foreign Office warns all British nationals in the Middle East to shelter in place immediately. Saudi Arabia, in a stunning moment, condemns Iran's retaliatory strikes on its neighbors. Riyadh calls the Iranian attacks a breach of sovereignty and warns of dire consequences. Saudi Arabia, a country that spent decades as Iran's bitter regional rival, is now effectively aligning itself with the U.S. Israeli coalition's defensive position at the UN Security Council, an emergency session. Israel's ambassador Danny Danon tells the chamber that Iran's decades of death to Israel, death to America chants were state-sanctioned preparation for action. Russia and China will almost certainly veto any resolution. The UN, as always in moments of real crisis, is powerless. Meanwhile, in northern Tehran, long queues form at gas stations. Supermarkets are stripped of bread, eggs, bottled water, milk. A city of millions is preparing for siege. Israel was preparing for several days of strikes, and even more if needed. Day 3 confirms this. The campaign is not winding down, it's widening. The IAF continues targeting IRGC assets that survived the opening salvo. Secondary strikes hit missile storage facilities that intelligence has newly identified. Iranian air defense systems that come back online are immediately targeted again, suppressed before they can threaten Israeli aircraft. The GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, America's bunker busters, are used again. Reports emerge of strikes specifically targeting the Fordo facility. It's built into a mountain near Qom. Fordo is arguably Iran's most protected nuclear site, buried under 80 meters of rock, specifically designed to survive American airstrikes. This is a test of whether the GBU-57 can do what it was designed to do. Iran's retaliation continues, but is clearly degraded. The missile salvos are smaller than day 1. Some launch sites have been destroyed. Others are being suppressed by U.S. aircraft. Iran's commanders are being killed or have gone deep underground. Iran's communications remain heavily disrupted. It's unclear who, if anyone, is in command of the Iranian state. Khamenei is confirmed dead. Succession process for a supreme leader normally handled by the assembly of experts has been thrown into chaos by the strikes on leadership. Iran is a theocracy without a theology in charge, a military without its generals, a government without a head. This is the most dangerous moment because a wounded, leaderless state is unpredictable. By week 2, the military phase is still ongoing, but the strikes have shifted from leadership decapitation to systematic destruction of Iran's military-industrial complex. The targets now are missile factories, drone production facilities, naval assets, the infrastructure that has allowed Iran to threaten the region for decades. The U.S. destroys what Trump described as Iran's missile industry razed to the ground. Iranian naval vessels are being systematically sunk or disabled. The IRGC's ability to coordinate attacks through proxy forces is being severed. Command and control nodes in Iraq, Is Syria and Yemen are being hit in secondary operations. But now in the streets of Tehran, something extraordinary begins to emerge. The protests that were brutally crushed in January are starting again. Tens of thousands of Iranians, despite the bombs, despite the fear, despite the chaos, are taking to the streets. Not anti-American, not pro-government, but anti-regime, calling for the fall of the Islamic Republic, calling for a new Iran. Trump told them, "The hour of your freedom is at hand," and the Iranian people might actually be listening. But here's the brutal truth that no one wants to say out loud. Regime change from the outside is one of the hardest things in modern warfare, even when you kill the leader, even when you destroy the military. The regime's ideology, the Revolutionary Guards, the besieged, the true believers don't just disappear because you bomb their headquarters. Iraq in 2003 taught the world what happens when you remove a dictator without a plan for what comes next. 20 years of chaos, a power vacuum filled by Iran, the question hanging over every war room, every intelligence briefing, every diplomatic cable being sent around the world right now is the same. What comes after? This strike doesn't just affect Iran and Israel, it sends shockwaves through the entire global system. Oil markets go haywire. The Persian Gulf handles roughly 20% of the world's oil transit. Tankers are rerouting. Insurance costs for Gulf shipping spike by 400%. Brent crude jumps $15 in a single day. This hits every economy on Earth, not just the Middle East. China is watching with cold, calculating eyes. Beijing has been Iran's primary economic partner, purchasing sanctioned Iranian oil to keep the regime alive. China condemns the strikes at the UN, but privately, Chinese strategic planners are running their own calculations. Iran was one of China's key assets in its effort to challenge U.S. dominance in the Middle East. If Iran collapses, what does that mean for China's Belt and Road strategy, for its access to Gulf energy, for the message it sends about America's willingness to use military force, including against nuclear-adjacent states? Russia itself, bogged down in Ukraine, condemns the strikes loudly, but can do little beyond words. Russia was supplying Iran with weapons and tactical coordination. That relationship is now severely disrupted. Moscow watches American military power demonstrated at scale and draws its own uncomfortable conclusions. North Korea's Kim Jong-un, who has been supplying shells and drones to Russia, is watching what American B-2 bombers and Tomahawk missiles do to a country that defied Washington. He is taking notes. Whether those notes make him more aggressive or more cautious, nobody knows yet. Hezbollah in Lebanon, already decimated by the 2024-2025 campaigns, is now effectively cut off from its patron. Iran's supply lines, its command networks, its financial support, all of it is under assault. Hezbollah's remaining leadership faces an existential choice: fight on and be destroyed, or stand down. The Houthis in Yemen, same calculation. Iraq's Iran-backed militias, same. The entire architecture of the axis of resistance is being dismantled, not just militarily, but structurally. The head of the snake, Iran, is under direct assault. Let's be real with each other for a minute, because I know some of you are cheering right now, and some of you are horrified. And the truth, as always, is more complicated than either reaction. What went right? The tactical execution was extraordinary. 200 Israeli jets, multiple U.S. carrier groups, B-2 bombers from halfway around the world, all hitting hundreds of targets simultaneously. With strategic surprise, in daylight, the electronic warfare performed. The air defenses were suppressed. The leadership was targeted. Iran's retaliatory capability was degraded faster than many analysts expected. The killing of Khamenei, if confirmed, is one of the most significant targeted kills since Osama bin Laden. This is the man who has directed Iranian foreign policy for 37 years, who built the proxy network, who ordered the massacres. The psychological and operational impact on the Iranian regime is incalculable. What is uncertain? The nuclear question. Iran's declared enrichment sites have been hit, but Iran has been suspected of having undisclosed facilities. The real question, the one that keeps nuclear analysts awake at night, is whether everything has been found and destroyed, or whether something survives underground that we don't know about. Fordo specifically. The GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator was designed for this, to punch through mountain rock and destroy buried facilities. But intelligence assessments of how deep Fordo's critical equipment actually is have varied. We won't know for days or weeks whether the facility has truly been rendered inoperable. What could go wrong? Iran is wounded, but not dead. The IRGC still exists. Hardliners within the system, people who have spent their entire lives fighting America and Israel, will not simply surrender. They may go underground. They may reconstitute, may make Iran the most dangerous ungoverned space since the fall of Mosul. Regional escalation remains the nightmare scenario. If Iran's missile barrages overwhelm Gulf air defenses, if a major base is hit with mass casualties, if Iran's Hezbollah opens a second front despite its weakness, the conflict could spiral beyond what anyone has planned for. And there's the question that haunts all of this. Iran has been studying the lesson of every country that faced American military power. The lesson they've studied hardest: how to acquire the one weapon that makes a country truly untouchable. The one weapon America doesn't strike. We thought the nuclear program was being dismantled. We thought the negotiations in Oman were making progress. What if some of it survived? What if Iran had a secret enrichment site that nobody knew about? What happens then? Here is where we are right now in real time as you watch this video. Khamenei is dead. Iran's military infrastructure is being systematically destroyed. The Supreme Leader's succession is in chaos. The Iranian people, the actual people of Iran, not their government, are back in the streets. Two of the world's most powerful militaries are still striking targets inside Iran. Several days of strikes and even more if needed. The Middle East, from Dubai to Riyadh to Tel Aviv to Baghdad, is on edge. Missiles are being intercepted over capital cities. Airports are shut down. Oil prices are spiking. Russia is watching. China is watching. North Korea is watching. Every nuclear-adjacent adversary of the United States is doing the exact same math right now. Is this what happens to us if we push too far? And somewhere in a bunker underneath Tehran, or in a secret compound in Syria, or in a safe house in Lebanon, the surviving leadership of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is huddled together, making decisions, deciding whether to escalate, whether to use their last remaining missiles, whether to activate sleeper cells, whether to try to build one last weapon in one last secret place. The United States and Israel just threw a grenade into the most volatile region on Earth, and we are all waiting for the shockwave. Will Iran fall? Will regime change succeed? Will the nuclear program truly be destroyed? Or have we just lit the fuse on something that will burn for a generation? What do you think happens next? Does Iran collapse, or does it rise from the ashes, more dangerous than before? Drop your answer in the comments right now, and if you want me to cover the next 72 hours as this develops in real time, hit that subscribe button, because this story is nowhere near over.